Hello, welcome. This is my third video this month. I'm on a roll. Yes, thank you. Talking about videos though, I've got a bit of a problem. There are so many projects and videos that I've been working on for the past like 3 years that just never made it to YouTube. And the reason is usually because I'm too ambitious. I give myself impossible challenges sometimes, especially considering this is my parents' home. But I don't want to just focus on showing you all the behind the scenes stuff. I will show you that. What I really want to show is all of the equipment and tools and chemicals that I've bought over the years. Doesn't look suspicious at all having these symbols on our doorstep. That's fine. That I have no use for anymore. Or for the time being, in the short term, I guess. And we're gonna tier list them. Let's go. First up is dimethyl formamide. Now, this is a gigantic jug that I will not use, like ever probably. I think it was used as a solvent in a video of mine. I've only used it once. I only needed like 50 milliliters, but the minimum order quantity was apparently 2.5 liters, so I have this laying around. And it was for a project that involved these chemicals right here, which is perfluoropropionic acid. Both of them contain that. In total, this is over 1,000. It's probably $1,500 just for the chemicals themselves, because I wanted to do some fluorine chemistry at home. I was real ambitious. I thought I could do that. And it turned out I can, but not fully, not all the way. I mean, I spent weeks, probably like a month, just researching fluorine chemistry to see if I can make something called a perfluorocarbon. It's a hydrocarbon, kind of like gasoline, but with all the hydrogen atoms replaced with fluorine. I started making a precursor that I wanted to make. The precursor I was making was supposed to liquefy, but it was just like pouring out as a gas. If I want to use liquid nitrogen to cool it down, I need to buy a dewar, but my local place won't let me fill it up unless I get a pickup truck to do it. So it's like, do I hire a trailer? I don't know. It's very just complicated to do just a simple thing like cooling something down. And then what's worse is, okay, let's assume I managed to cool down the liquid by some cheap method. Well, now I've got to use that liquid in another procedure and another process, and the list kept going on of steps to do, and the risks just kept going up. I mean, one of the precursors is TFE, tetrafluoroethylene. That's something that can explode just out of nowhere. So I don't really want things detonating at home. It was a bad idea. Sometimes you do just reach a point where it's lost cost fallacy and you have to quit. Otherwise, you're gonna just destroy your bank account or your life. I mean, this stuff could explode. A, B, C, D, E. I'm gonna put it in E. I don't think it's an F because I don't think this is as bad. This actually had like some work put in. Like I actually ended up using this for something. It just wasn't ever completed. I might have to revisit it in the future once I have more equipment and can use more explosive things. I was a bit in over my head on that one. Okay, next item. Before we go to the next item, I just want to say that I used to hold off on showing a lot of this stuff unless I could tie it up into a neat ending. I'm a huge perfectionist with my videos, but honestly, that just left me with this giant graveyard with unfinished projects and experiment footage. So right after I upload this video, I'm gonna start uploading more of my work in progress projects to Patreon, not as published exclusive videos, but just raw behind the scenes experiments that might one day become full YouTube videos. Oh, and by the way, I've already posted a fun work in progress there if you want to check it out. There's plenty I couldn't even fit into this video as well. I'm just going through the worst purchases essentially. There's a lot of projects that did have good purchases, but I just didn't quite get to the end of it or have a satisfying conclusion. So there'll be a lot more going up on Patreon after this. And the link is in the description below if you want to check it out. Okay, next up is 50%, 25 kilos of hydrogen peroxide. Okay. Okay, this one is probably the most dangerous one. More just the scariest reality, maybe, that I could actually get this. This goes back to like 2021, maybe 2022 actually, when I first started making deepfake parodies. And I'm pretty sure this is what Microbe used for his devil's toothpaste. So I bought this gigantic tub to be able to make a gigantic fountain of elephant toothpaste. Only for me to find out that I can just do a smaller scale version and then just fix it in post to make it look bigger. So I ended up not actually needing 25 kilos. I literally just looked up online hydrogen peroxide. I found a pool chemical supplier locally. And they just shipped it like normally. And it rocked up on my door just like this. There wasn't any like box concealing it. It was just like this big gigantic tub. I've had a few chemistry friends see this. I like to see their faces light up when they're like, what the fuck? I'm gonna say S tier. It's cool. It's cool. Next up is Fluorine FC84. Now this one's interesting because it is a perfluorocarbon that I did not make. I bought it. This was like $900 for one bottle of liquid. That's insane. And the reason I bought it is because I wanted to use it as like a heavy liquid that's non-reactive. And so I think I ended up putting resin on top of it, but then the resin kind of seeped into it and now it just kind of smells bad. It smells terrible. It smells like resin. It smells like chemical UV resin. And I've also distilled this over and it still smells. So I can't remove it. I've poisoned it. And not only that, but this used to be full. It's non-reactive. You should be able to collect it back, but it evaporates. With its use, I've probably evaporated half of it. So that's $400 just evaporated into the air. I'm thinking of putting it in C tier because it's still kind of a cool liquid to have, even though I've lost half of it. Next up is this cutting saw. I bought this like 2.5 years ago for my sodium project. So I went exploring and bought this one, but apparently the pipes arrived pre-cut. Oh. So forget I ever made that mistake. It's not sitting unopened on a couch right now. Yeah, it's still just sitting on a couch. Yeah, yikes. I'm gonna put this in F tier. Okay, next up, gallon stand. This stuff's cool. The reason this was a bad purchase of mine is because the project I bought this for was it could replicate the float glass like method, but with resin instead of glass. You'll notice later, there's more things I've bought for floating things on, but I don't know if I was ripped off, but this was like over $1,000 and it's less than 100 milliliters of liquid. That's terrible. This stuff sticks to everything. You can see the bottle, it's covered in gunk. So after I realized that didn't work, I then bought something else. Let me just, here it is. I bought some mercury. It's in a container that should be closed, but it's got a hole in the top. So I tried mercury as well. The final verdict of that project was that mercury is actually really good at floating resin. So it doesn't stick. It's a bit toxic, so you just have to be careful, especially with cleanup. Yeah, it's miles better than gallon stand. It's also technically cheaper than gallon stand. Now, the reason I've put these in this video is not because they're just a bit expensive, but because I literally have no other use for them now. And I didn't end up publishing the video because the results just, I don't know, it wasn't as satisfying as I thought it would be. Now, when it comes to ranking these, I think the mercury can go into E tier because I literally haven't used this since I did that project. I don't even know if legally I'm supposed to have this. But when it comes to gallon stand, even though I think this is honestly more useless than mercury, I think despite everything I've said so far, this should go into A tier. And the reason it's A tier is because I managed to make my money back on it by squirting it into my eye. And that short did like, it got millions of views. People thought it was cool, so I'll put it into A tier. No, most people thought it was absolutely ridiculous that I would do that. Also, it looks like there's a lot. The amount of liquid, it's just coating the plastic. The amount of liquid in there is actually like that much. The next item is a bunch of quartz glassware. Now, this stuff I purchased because I just published my sodium duck video. It did really well. It's got like 3-something million views right now. And I was like, man, I should make more sodium, but like even cooler. Then don't do it the cast nacelle way, do it the Downs process way. The problem with that is that it requires very high temperatures. And my thought was, well, I could do it in metal, but that's kind of boring, right? So what if I did the Downs process, but do it in glass so you can see it, like you can see the inside of it. Like a molten salt quartz glass Downs cell reactor. Yeah, just stringing those words together sounds like a complete nightmare of a project. Quartz glass can handle some really high temperatures. It is expensive though. The only reason why I didn't continue this project isn't because I realized it wouldn't work. I don't really have any proof it wouldn't work. I just found it really, really difficult to find pieces of quartz glass in the sizes and dimensions that I needed for the project. So it's more of a supply issue. But I did successfully do a test. It's on my Patreon. It's an exclusive video. It's more just like a simple test, but I feel like there's some future where I do revisit this project and actually get it to work. I'll put it in C tier. It's kind of an average. It's like, it's overambitious, but technically it might be feasible one day. Let's get on to the next weird item that I'm holding hostage. Next up is a gigantic pressure pot. This one's kind of insane. Interesting to just have this in your bedroom. It's made specifically for resins so that you can put resins inside of it. Here. Oh my God. You put like resin projects inside of it, and then the pressure, which goes up to 60 PSI. It's not a lot of PSI, but it's enough PSI to be able to stop resin from forming those little bubbles in it. That's literally the only use for it. And the whole reason behind it is because I thought it'd be really cool if I could like make a disc of resin inside of this thing, spin this thing around at like a certain RPM to form a parabolic shaped resin thing that sets in it, and then that can be mirrored, and then that turns into a telescope mirror. That was the idea anyway. The reason that never ended up happening is because I soon realized just how difficult it is to get resin to properly harden. I mean, I already knew it was gonna be a problem. I thought I could find solutions around that, hence why I bought gallon stand and mercury. I was like, oh, maybe floating the resin on top will prevent it from like doing the weird shrinking thing that like makes it distort its surface. So that could be like a perfect mirror. That just never worked out. So I bought this a little too early. I should have just waited until I did the test with the gallon stand and the mercury, which by the way, that means that they're both the same project. Yeah, that's right. So the gallon stand and the mercury were both bought for this project, and this was another $1,000 spent on an idea that many people have already tried and failed at. I thought I could do something cool with it, but turns out it's very difficult. So to put it simply, I wanted to make resin plastic telescope mirrors. It's a thing that's been tried. It's never really worked out. The reason why I wanted to do that is because I have this telescope here. I used to be really into astrophotography. This telescope uses a glass mirror in the back there. You can maybe see that. That's parabolic. That's because it magnifies images, and so you can see really far basically. But because it's made out of glass, it's insanely hard to manufacture. The precision is required is insane. You have to get like the perfect curve, but when you spin something like a liquid, it naturally forms a parabola. So my thought was, if I just spin this around really consistently, then maybe like it will form a parabola that's stable and I can let it solidify. But there's so many reasons why this is not as easy as I originally thought. I thought I could get over those issues, but you start seeing that half of this video, most of my purchases are just based on this same project. And here's where it gets worse, because I have more important equipment that I bought specifically for this that isn't going to be used. So this is where it gets tricky. This had to be imported overseas because I'm in Australia. That is a big problem for all these projects in this video, by the way. Pretty much everything I'm showing you is imported. Expenses, they crop up really fast. The reason this project never quite worked is because I could not find a way to spin something at a consistent rate without vibration. And that's a mechanical and engineering problem to solve that I don't know how to solve. So let me show you what I tried. I bought a Lazy Susan thing. I don't know how much this was. It was a bit though. And this is supposed to go down on a surface. I've taken the ball bearings out. That's why it looks like this. This should be able to be held on top of this. And then I could spin this around with a motor, and nah, it didn't end up working out. Next up, still for the same project, this motorized turntable thing. This is for welding initially. That's what it's sold for anyway. But I was really interested in its ability to hold 10 kilos of weight. So it may not be able to hold this thing, but it may be able to hold something else just for some tests. This thing has the worst vibration I've ever seen any kind of turntable have. So that was kind of like a waste of $300 or $400. The next idea I had for a turntable was just dumb. I'm not gonna bring it here.
What do you think?
I think it's because I already spent all my money on the welding turntable. So I was like, well, the next turntable has to be cheap.
Oh my God, that's so much better. And it just keeps spinning.
So I'm gonna convert my gaming chair into a turntable. I don't know why I decided that that would be like a good idea. And there was various different ways I tried doing that did not end up working like whatsoever. And I think I almost fell off at one point. I think I played around with it a bit. If I had the engineering capability of like attaching a motor to it properly without using rubber bands and stuff like that, then maybe it would have ended up working, because it can actually handle a lot of weight. It was also the smoothest I'd felt so far. So it was pretty good in concept. I just lacked the skill. I think I was onto something, just not quite there. I think the last motorized turntable I bought was this one. It's a photography turntable. You're supposed to put objects on it, and then this spins around. You can change the speed of it and the direction of it. That's really cool, I thought. I don't know, it's supposed to help you with like 3D scanning stuff, but instead I was just gonna put a big tub on it and try to spin liquid around, and hopefully the resin will set in a parabola. And oh man, it just never worked. test. This was still too shaky, and not only shaky, but there was some variance in the edges. The whole thing would wobble very slightly. All right, this is where it's starting to get a little comedically dumb. So this is a giant tub. I think from memory, my idea was to have this giant tub filled with water, and there's a hole in the bottom, which means the water would flow through the bottom, the base. There'd be pumps on the side, like pushing the water in a circle. That way I can put like something on top that like will float in the center. And that way, yeah, now I have a smooth turntable that I can like put resin on top of. But if anything moved or shook, like it was no longer like a vibration, but now rather like a kind of slow being in water. So I don't think it actually helped. I am technically making progress. This is stuff that I've like invested in over the past 3 years. I keep revisiting it every now and then, but at this point I could clearly see this is not working. I can't just keep buying these maybe will work kind of engineered pieces. And I know I can't make engineered pieces because if I wanted to make anything, well, A, I don't have a workshop. Most importantly, if I did want to make something, I'd have to import it from overseas and then see if something fits or if the thing is gonna like work together. And so it's just like, and I have no experience on like pulleys and motor and hobby stuff like that. I live in the city of Adelaide where pretty much nothing happens here. There's very little local products I can buy to be able to like tinker with this stuff. So engineering is pretty limited. If anyone out there knows like how to make a turntable super smooth and also handle a lot of weight, let me know. And by the way, I did research a bunch of companies that do like air bearings and stuff like that. In fact, I tried making one myself. I still haven't gotten around to quite finishing that because everything has to be imported. I contacted some companies that make air bearings and they make, it's so smooth. I mean, just look at it, it looks amazing. I asked them for a quote and they quoted like $50,000, which is more than what I get paid in a year. That's kind of impossible. That's my fault though, for trying these projects that I financially cannot do. I also tried floating resin on perfluorocarbon, that expensive liquid. I think that might be why I bought it actually. Just nothing is quite good enough. Yep. This is most of everything that I spent on that project, probably like $3,500 worth. This is particularly bad because it wasted both time and money. So, and it's gonna go on E tier. The reason it's not F is because I haven't given up on it entirely, just because I'm holding on to hope. I'll revisit it one day. One day I'll revisit it. I think a lot of people are surprised when I do experiments and they actually end up working. I think that was a very common sentiment with my sodium duck video where people are like, how does this guy keep doing everything wrong but somehow end up succeeding? I think I got lucky because that project worked completely fine. It had its struggles. I persevered through it, sure, but like most of my projects don't actually end up working out. You know, for every single video that I'm persevering through and spending my money on, somehow something works in the end. There's like a backlog of like 5 or 6 videos below that never enter YouTube because I persevered and spent a bunch of money and then it flopped. It didn't work in the end. So it's like, yeah, it's a bit difficult. Okay, next item is my radioactive materials. So this is a bunch of smoke alarm detectors that I bought off of AliExpress. The reason I bought it was simply, I just wanted to see if I could buy it. I just wanted to see if I could do it. The answer is yes, you can, and it was only like a couple dollars. So I thought I would make a video, like a short, where I'm just holding them and be like, this is a bunch of, I don't even know what the idea was. If I put my Geiger counter against it, it beeps. Anyway, end of video. Like, I don't think I can legally open them up, like dismantle them or do anything with it. And then there's this uranium glass beads. I still don't know if I'd be able to do much with it. I thought I'd make a fun video where I like just kind of talk about the science of it, but I never got around to it. These are things that I might end up using. And then this third item, again, I just bought it because I thought it'd be cool and it was cheap from AliExpress. It's this little pen-looking device that claims to have negative ion energy. Stir it in your drink and it takes away the bad thoughts or something, I don't know. But the negative ion energy they're referencing to is just literally radiation. It's filled with thorium inside of it, which is radioactive, and yeah, not something you'd really want. I reckon I'd put that in D tier just because it technically might have a use, it's just not a very good use. And plus it's all imported as well, so that was also a bit of an expensive thing to do, so I don't know. It might be worth it if the short does well, might not be if I never make the short. Next item, an ultrasonic cleaner. Now this is a jewelry ultrasonic cleaner. The reason why I've put this in this video is because I think I used it once, and the reason I bought it was similar to the telescope mirror testing. I had a problem. And that was a very simple problem, but I tried to solve that with complicated solutions, which is a very common thing I see in the science community, by the way. Maybe it's just research and development. Is that just what research and development is? But yeah, my idea was for this project was to make a bunch of glass ampules. See, there's a bag full of ampules. They're not sealed yet. But what I wanted to do was I wanted to take this caffeine powder, which I also bought, put it into a bunch of glass ampules. I mean, I've got so many that I could fill up with caffeine. It's honestly quite ridiculous just how many. Fuck. Now the reason I have, like, there's more bags in there, but the reason I have so many is because there's different sizes and I wanted to do a lot. The reason I wanted to do a lot is because I wanted that to be like a merch kind of thing. I wanted to sell merch about caffeine because I was like, well, it's kind of like a throwback to my Nile Green days. You can legally ship small quantities of caffeine if it's not for consumption. I put quite a bit of time and effort into this project, trying to make the perfect seal for caffeine. And while sometimes it worked, most times it didn't. I also ended up investing in a a very high temperature oxygen propane flame torch thing, but then it ran out of oxygen, and so I need like a proper supply of oxygen. Oh, by the way, the reason I forgot to mention, the reason why I needed the ultrasonic cleaner was because I kept sealing the caffeine ampules, but then caffeine would like stick to the sides of the inside of the glass, and so it looked kind of bad. So what I ended up doing was, I was like, well, maybe an ultrasonic cleaner would like vibrate the powder inside really fast. And so that would take the powder off the sides of the glass, make it look more aesthetically pleasing. That's not how ultrasonic cleaners work. They don't just vibrate things inside objects. It works by like cavitation bubbles or something like that. It has to be on the interface between the liquid and the object, but it was behind glass. So this had absolutely no effect, and I had to find a better way to prevent it from sticking.
I only used it once and it didn't work, so this is going into F tier.
I mean, you can see just this small jar here, just absolutely full to the brim. It's not full to the brim, why did I say that? Yeah, no, there's like a bunch of different attempts in here of glass. It's a skill, you gotta learn how to do it. I ended up doing what most glass blowing flame people do, whatever the hobby is called. I bought an oxygen concentrator. So this is maybe not a bad purchase, we'll have to see. It takes in the air from around us in this room and then pipes it out. It filters all the nitrogen out and then leaves like a much more rich oxygen sort of gas. And so that way I can continually use this for very cheap costs in the long term, even though it's a higher initial investment for using oxygen for my flame torch thing. Oh, and by the way, the idea for my merch isn't just like ampules of caffeine. It's ampules of caffeine inside of like an acrylic element cube thing. Really cool idea, not very easy to do. And that brings me onto these pieces right here, which is also for the same project. I invested in a Smith Little torch. It's a knockoff version, so it's cheap, but it's basically the same. Problem, however, is once again, because I'm in Australia, the standardizations are all fucked up. So I had to get like these custom pieces, all these fittings, to be able to convert this from a Chinese or American model into like an Australian model that will fit my regulator. I have this Australian regulator here that would fit into my gas supply, and then I have these flame arresters in case everything blows up. It won't blow everything up, it'll kind of contain the explosion a bit, just make a loud pop. I'm still working on it, so I don't know, maybe in the future we'll be able to get like little acrylic cubes of caffeine. Let me know if you'd be interested in that in the comments below, but it is something that's gonna take a little bit of effort and more time for me to do. So we'll put this stuff right here into like C tier because I don't actually know what the turnout's gonna be of that. I haven't given up yet. I'm just waiting on parts to ship. Like literally all of it's ready to go except for one little brass piece I need. And I could skip it, but then it wouldn't be safe. I really don't like explosions. So gonna have to just continue waiting until that one brass piece arrives. Next up is some chemicals, which is kind of rare. We don't see too many chemicals in this video. Most of it's equipment based. So this is triclinium, which is I think trisodium phosphate, if I remember correctly. Oh, there it is, trisodium phosphate. And the other one is calcium increaser, which is just calcium chloride. Now the reason I have these big bags of those chemicals is because I was gonna use this to make a bunch of white phosphorus, like 200 grams. I found a YouTube tutorial on how to do it, and then it was deleted by YouTube and their entire channel got struck down. So I was like, maybe not. Literally one drop of white phosphorus is enough to be lethal, so I decided let's not make 200 grams. I don't know, I thought it'd be cool for a video, but it is more than what I can actually realistically deal with right now. So let's put it in E tier because it's not like what I decided to do was impossible, it's just not a good idea to. All right, next up is a giant bag of another chemical actually, ammonium chloride. This was probably my most recent chemical purchase. And the reason I bought this is because I realized I could use this to make something called, what's that yellow liquid that explodes? Trichloramine. I realized in order for me to make this trichloramine stuff, I kind of have to do it on a larger scale for it to work. So that's why I bought this giant bag. However, I did some small scale tests on like some pull tablets. I couldn't even like properly see the trichloramine. It was just kind of there technically. Even that tiny amount was loud enough to kind of scare me a bit. Fucking hell. So basically I started small and it was scary even small. So if I wanted to do it really big, just no. I have limits, usually revolving around explosive stuff. In my current situation, if you don't know, I'm living with a roommate right now, and having really loud, big explosions randomly probably isn't the best idea. In a month or so, that's gonna change. I'll have more freedom in like a little less than a month. I'd say it's like an F tier just because it's scary. Next item is tartrazine. This one I've made 2 videos on. I've made a short on and a longer form video on where I made transparent chicken. That was the whole point of this. The reason why this was a poor purchase and why this is in this video is because I only needed like 100 grams of it. I needed a very small amount, but the minimum order quantity was 1 kilo. So I now just have a giant tub of tartrazine, a food dye that I don't have a use for. So I also just absolutely hate this stuff. It colors everything, it stains everything, it enters the air, it like settles on tables, and then like a week later, you'll wipe the table down and it'll just turn orange. It infects everything almost with orange, and it sticks to your hands. You know, I don't want to move it around too much. It gets airborne really quickly. Don't love that stuff. I'm gonna put it in E tier because I just don't like it, and it's very annoying. I think it'd be easier if the next item I just... okay. Next object, we have some hypodermic, is that hypodermic needles? What is this? Drawing up needle. I only needed 1 needle, and yet I have a box. 100 needle tips, another box of 100 needle tips, and this is the syringe. Again, I needed only like 1 syringe. I think the reason why there's a minimum order quantity with this stuff is because I think it's to prevent people from misusing these items. I bought this because I made myself a little hydrogen oxygen generator at home. Let me show you that. Here it is. This is my hydrogen oxygen generator. Got this big tube here. This was my original idea for my flame pencil torch thing that was gonna melt the ampules. This is kind of the same project. No, it is the same project. It really is just the same project as the caffeine ampules. And this right here is the container I used to generate the hydrogen oxygen inside of, based off of Nighthawk and Light's video, where he uses a stainless steel scourer inside of a stainless steel vessel in order to electrolyze the solution and make some hydrogen oxygen. Like I'd connect it and then the hydrogen oxygen would flow through, come out of this torch end, and then I have a little flame at the end that's super hot that can seal ampules. Now you notice there's no needle tip at the end of this. That's because in Nighthawk and Light's version, he had a syringe with a needle tip at the end, and that's where the flame, the gas would come out of. But I noticed after some testing that if it backfires, this stuff is so powerful that I kind of got afraid by it. If I'm putting a needle at the end of a syringe, all the hydrogen oxygen, it explodes so fast and violently. I was worried it would just shoot off a needle into my eye or something like that if it exploded. I mean, it's unlikely to get into the eye, but it's not a risk I want to take. I just feel like putting a needle on the end of a hydrogen oxygen generator, it's the dumbest idea you can do. I'm sorry, Nighthawk and Light, but I almost did it and it scared me, so hold on. I found another box of needles. The reason I bought so many is because I just wanted to like try a few different sizes. So I changed it to this puck. And so I changed it to this copper design. But yeah, I found a few tutorials online that did basically this exact same setup. I think it's so much more robust and solid. It's less likely to shoot off because it's actually tapped into the copper. I'd say this is all just maybe a B tier because like the idea wasn't terrible. It's just a bit questionable how safe it is. And I didn't want to continue with it, which I know it might surprise a lot of people that like Mr. Green Guy trying to be safe, but I'm holding something behind my back that is probably the best thing, the best purchase that I ever made. Can you guess what it is? It's a pair of $4, maybe $12 safety glasses. So cool. It's literally one pair that I've worn for like 4 or 5 years. It's lasted me that long. It's handled it pretty well. Somehow these have survived me. I'm gonna put it in S tier because it's not a bad purchase, honestly. This is great. I don't even know where I got it from. Most of this stuff will be used one day eventually at some point, sometime, when I'm maybe not living in my parents' home. I can't guarantee these experiments are gonna ever get complete. Some of them might not, who knows. But if you wanna support it anyway, you can support me on Patreon. The link is in the description below. But yeah, for the next year or so, I'm probably gonna be mostly focusing on easier content that's a lot more chaotic. Goofy, memey, like shitposty stuff that's more similar to my Now Green days, just without the deep fakes. And that will hopefully like feed into the more complicated stuff down the line. We'll have to see what I do with content because I'm still kind of learning like how to go about my content regarding these projects. Like obviously I don't want to start a new project that's gonna take months of my time and then I finally publish the video and I get like a couple $100 for it. That's just kind of the reality of it, I guess, unfortunately. Like somehow shooting liquid gallon stand into my eye, which is super simple and dumb to do, was way more successful and a better return on investment than spending months trying to create like a resin telescope sophisticated thing. It's not gonna work if I do that, but I do have a very strong passion to be able to do things that are really high investment projects. Thank you to all my Mega Nuke Patreon supporters for supporting this video and supporting all the other videos I've made. Maybe next video I'll do some actual chemistry. And see you next time.